This is the Toronto Today podcast. I'm your host, Greg Brady. Really excited to have our next guest on, but I do want to play you something that there's been a lot of sort of, I don't think I told you so is gloating or doing a dance after a big soccer goal or an NFL touchdown, but there's been a lot of people documenting what they said and when they said it when it came to warning the West about terrorism. Here's a foreign minister in 2017 from the United Arab Emirates. Listen to his explanation here.
There will come a day that we will see far more radical extremists and terrorists coming out of Europe because of lack of decision-making, trying to be politically correct, or assuming that they know the Middle East and they know Islam and they know the others far better than we do. And I'm sorry, but that's pure ignorance.
Is he right? Is he leaning towards being more right? I want to bring on our next guest. He has traveled the world. He lived in Australia a long time, spent significant time now in Canada. He's known as the Imam of Peace, Imam Mohammad Tawhidi, who's the governing member of the Global Imams Council. It's a pleasure to have you on, and thank you for the time.
Thank you for having me. It's my honor.
You've spent a lot of time in Australia. What were your first observations of the disgusting sickness of terrorism striking innocents in Australia Sunday morning?
Absolutely heartbroken, shattered. That community is very dear to my heart. In fact, the Jewish community in Sydney played a big role in shaping my career and future down this path of coexistence, bridge building. This is a community that actually helped me become a better person. Going from a simple cleric in a mosque in Australia to being an international advocate for peace and coexistence, they were the ones who initiated the outreach, and through them I saw the beauty of interfaith and getting to know my Jewish brothers and sisters and Christians and Buddhists and you name it.
How difficult will it be? We're early days, aren't we, Imam? But how difficult will it be for Australia to recover from this tragedy? Words can't describe watching the imagery and the people that are suffering, and now the clashing now of various levels of support and detractors. I even saw one of the vigils on Bondi Beach was interrupted by a Free Palestine demonstration. This isn't going to be an easy thing to move past.
Yeah, I do not think the Jewish community will recover. I think this will change them forever and also change the country, Australia, forever. And as you can see, Jewish communities globally are impacted by this. The video footage shows you exactly the type of elimination level anti-Semitism that is Islamist anti-Semitism that is targeting Jews everywhere. A day does not go by without a Jewish person being attacked simply for being identifiably Jewish or for celebrating their Jewish holidays. I think Jewish community in Australia will need their time to grieve, and we should be there to support them and stand in solidarity with them. But that also means standing in the face of the corrupt Muslim Brotherhood, Islamist extremist movement that is trying to spin this and make it about Islamophobia. Not everyone who criticizes the shooters is acting against the Muslim community. The Muslim community in Australia has refused to receive the bodies of the deceased terrorist shooters. So there is good and there is bad in every community. That is understandable. But at this time, spinning it around and making this about Islamophobia and protecting the Muslim community instead of the Jewish community is outrageous.
What do you see in terms of similarities between basically the temperature level in Australia vis-a-vis what you see in some Canadian cities, right here in Toronto where you are right now, Ottawa, Montreal? Are there things we should be watching for to be ready for something so terrible?
I do not like to fearmonger at all, but I am also a realistic person. Toronto has the exact same ingredients that Australia has that led up to this attack. There are extremists in Toronto who raise the flags of Al-Qaeda and Hamas and Hezbollah, and these are terrorist-designated organizations by Public Safety Canada. And we need to make sure that these extremists are not just under watch, but also disrupted, and to make sure that these processions do not continue to control our streets, because they are radicalizing the vulnerable Muslims within our community. The police are doing an excellent job, but I think the police need to be supported. The legal system needs to take action whenever the police arrest someone who is waving an ISIS or an Al-Qaeda or a Hamas flag. They cannot be arrested and then released because the judge cannot rule against them. This is also a judicial conversation. That prosecution actually goes somewhere.
We're talking to Imam Mohammad Tawhidi, the governing member of the Global Imams Council on Toronto Today with Greg Brady. These are my observations. And by the way, I lived in Michigan during 9/11. I lived very close and had friends in Dearborn. I know Dearborn, Michigan's changed, but what I witnessed was terrible for people of Muslim origin, terrible for people who didn't look like me post 9/11. Way too much surveillance, judgment, etc. But I would make the case, Imam, that I think we're seeing that with Jewish people everywhere right now. They're being held responsible for Israel's government's behavior. And yes, not every criticism of the Israeli government or Benjamin Netanyahu is anti-Semitic. That's been terribly unhelpful for people who frame that way. That doesn't help anybody. But I'd make the case there's a similarity there. Do you see that level of it where we're holding people who have nothing to do with Israel, maybe never been there, but they're being held responsible for government policy in enacting this war?
The Islamist extremists do not care if Israel is a communist state, a democracy, a theocracy, a kingdom, whether it is run by the Israeli left or Netanyahu. They hate Jews, period. They will bomb and kill Jews simply because they are Jews, regardless of what citizenship they have. Many Jews around the world do not hold an Israeli citizenship, and some of them even are anti-Netanyahu, and they still get attacked. This is an issue that targets Jews. And I would like to remind the world and also the listeners is that after October 7, before Israel even responded to Hamas, we saw the chance of gas the Jews right in front of Sydney Opera House. That is the same community that has come out yesterday and today to support the shooters that gunned down the Jewish celebrants on Bondi Beach. So whether Israel responds to an attack or does not respond, you will have people who come out to the streets to support Hamas and say gas the Jews. This is a reality we're living in, and we need to address it exactly the way it is.
Imam, I'll speak frankly about this, whether it bothers people or not, or people think I'm just playing a card here. I think a large number of Muslim friends where I live in Ajax outside of Toronto and in Toronto proper. They think like you think. They think like I think. They think these demonstrations are madness. They may have their own opinions about Middle East politics, of course. What's your message to them when they say we want nothing to do with this kind of threat to the Jewish people, nothing to do with this kind of intimidation and borderline, terrorism? They don't see this as who they are. What's your message to them to stay strong and speak out?
Everyone with a conscience and everyone who respects their mind and respects anything Canadian and Canadian values that mirror the values of the Abraham Accords of coexistence and harmony and true excellent leadership needs to oppose what we are seeing on Canadian streets every now and then. A chance to support Hamas, Al-Qaeda, ISIS, Osama bin Laden, the Muslim Brotherhood. All of these organizations are banned in the Middle East. They're banned in the Muslim world. Why they are allowed to fester and grow in Canada and incorporate and fundraise is beyond me. Samidun was designated as a terrorist entity. Samidun is still active in Canada. We need to be realistic about national security. This is not a political decision. Opposing the extremists cannot be a political decision. It needs to be a security decision, and we cannot wait. We can live with an economy that's up and down, but we cannot live with terrorists around the road blocking our streets with their flags. That's why the GIC released 2 months ago the Symbols of Terror guidebook for police to be able to immediately identify and disrupt the extremist protests who raise these flags.
Do you think we can get to a better place? Can we hold our communities accountable? Can we ask more of the mayor of Toronto, the prime minister? Can we? Are we going to get there?
I think so. I think there is hope, but I think the will is not there yet. I have hope, but I think this is a national conversation. It's not something that one person or our organization, the Global Imams Council, can achieve. This needs to be a collective effort by Canadians together to stand up and say, we do not want to see what happened on Bondi Beach in Toronto or in Canada, God forbid.
Thank you for your time today. I greatly appreciate it. I hope we'll chat soon.
Thank you very much. God bless.
That's Imam Mohammad Tawhidi, governing member of the Global Imams Council. Thanks for listening to the Toronto Today podcast. We drop the highlights of the daily show every weekday morning. Don't forget, you can hear the entire show on the radio, at home, on your smart speaker. Ask Alexa or say, hey, Google. Play 640 Toronto or Toronto Today. You can hear us on between 5:30 and 9 weekdays on 640 Toronto. Have a great day.
I want to stamp myself one of the best players to ever play this game.
Wednesdays on Global.
That's how you do it!
This is their moment.
The lying, the backstabbing. I'm excited to do it.
Canada's #1 reality show.
This is a highly venomous snake. I'm worried about his life at this point.
We both aren't afraid to be killers. I'm the puppet master. She was Karen.
This is Survivor. We're going to go to war.
Survivor. All new Wednesdays on Global. Stream on Stack TV.